Go.
Hello. So today I'm going to talk about if free trade is good for Texas or not. So let's start off with a history of trade within the United States as a whole. Our first documented accounts of trade happened around the 1500s. That would be back around here. And this is talking about free trade. So that is without tariffs, without anything added onto it, shipping costs, things like that. And free trade lasted all the way up until about, let's say around 1765, right before the Revolutionary War, where the signing of the Constitution happened. Just because slightly before that, there were tensions between the United States and British, where there were a lot of acts put into place, such as the Stamp Act, the Sugar Act, that put a lot of tariffs on imports within the United States. So we've had a long history of free trade, all the way from here to here. And that's of trade between colonists and Native Americans, as well as between Native Americans themselves, from the United States to Mexico to Canada. And this would include things like minerals, food, animal hides. So after free trade kind of ended in the United States, we started to see the enactment of tariffs. So let's talk a little bit about tariffs. What are tariffs? So they're a major part of our economy, and they were originally enacted to kind of offset the debt that the United States had to pay for the wars between the U.S. and British, as well as wars within the United States, such as the Civil War and things like that. So tariffs are taxes put on foreign goods to make them more expensive to boost the allure of domestically made products. Usually what we find with tariffs is there's a primary effect and a secondary effect. So the primary effect is that we gain money for the government, and that's to pay for programs and other things within the United States. The secondary effect is going to be our increase in jobs, as well as the possible decrease in cost for domestic products. So let's look at an example here. Let's say a broom, for example. So we have this broom here that's made in the United States. And let's say it costs like $20 to manufacture. This is without shipping costs and other things like that. And then let's say we have this broom here that's made in China that maybe costs like, I don't know, $10 to manufacture. Of course, that's without shipping costs as well. So what tariffs try to do is they say, okay, we want this product to look better to the consumers within the United States. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, China, in order for you to get this broom over to the United States, we're going to put a tax on the import of this broom, which could effectively make it possibly more expensive than what's on the shelves, or than what is U.S. made put on the shelves. So let's say with this, whatever tariff this is, now this broom costs $15 to manufacture. And with shipping costs and import costs and everything, now what it looks like on the shelves to consumers is a $25 broom. Now, if it were me in this economy right now, I would go to the store looking for a broom and say, okay, I'm going to go with the cheapest option, which in this case tends to be the United States option. So that's the main goal of tariffs. However, there's kind of this trickle-down effect with them where, yeah, this product may be cheaper to manufacture over here, and then effectively with tariffs be more expensive. But a lot of our products that we use to manufacture, say, our brooms, either like parts, are imported to the United States to make this product here, which can, in effect, also make this broom more expensive, possibly even more expensive than what would be imported from, say, China or Mexico or other things like that, other places like that. So really, in the end, small businesses and manufacturers, as well as the consumers, are kind of hurt in that situation. Another good example of this is car manufacturers. We do get a lot of parts, especially Toyota. They get a lot of parts from overseas. So for example, the 2020 Tacoma, that base model was originally $26,050. And then within the past 4 years, so the 2024 Tacoma, same model and everything, base model, is now $31,500. Now, I can't say for definite that this is because of tariffs. It could also be a major, because of inflation, but tariffs also do play a big role in it because that Toyota gets a lot of their parts imported. So there are a few free trade agreements that are enacted within the United States. There's two major ones. The first one is going to be NAFTA. This one is no longer in effect. It got pushed out by USMCA in 2020, but this was from 1994 to 2020. And NAFTA was the trade agreement that was that removed many tariffs between U.S., Mexico, and Canada, which opened trade for low-cost products between the three entities, mainly including food, textiles, and manufactured goods. And then you have the USMCA, which is the one that's enacted now. That's is the agreement between the United States, Canada, and Mexico, removing a lot of the tariffs between the three. And there are a lot of components of USMCA. That includes protection of intellectual property, protection of digital trade, and an increase in de minimis shipment value level, which helps a lot of small businesses. Because with that, it states that, let's say someone has a shipment of below a certain amount of money, they can get those import taxes, I believe, eliminated. Okay, so what are the concerns with free trade within the United States as well as Texas? So the biggest concern is going to be job loss. There's a saying that goes around, per se, that you know, we're shipping too many jobs overseas. I know I've heard that in the news quite a few times. But it looks like there's actually been a lot of jobs possibly created by these free trade agreements. So under USMCA, Texas was the largest exporter of goods to Canada and Mexico. Texas also exported $328.9 billion in goods to the world. And in 2016, 910,000 U.S. jobs were supported by goods that were exported specifically from Texas. And then America as a whole exceeded $1.5 trillion in trade after the implementation of USMCA, which is quite a lot of money, quite a lot of revenue. But there's also mixed data as far as what kind of jobs have been created after the implementation of USMCA. So within the past 12 years, manufacturing jobs have had an actual decrease of 50,000 jobs, while as well as an increase in wholesale trade of about 50,000, but there was Oh, okay. But an increase in personal business of about 10,000. There's also a concern for immigration with free trade. Some believe that there should be sections within free trade agreements that mandate provisions for immigration. So a lot of companies, for example, Chinese companies that send people over here to, let's say, work at Google and other places like that, for example, are worried that the people being sent over here temporarily to work are eventually going to seek, citizenship. And that could possibly be a cause of Americans losing jobs. They're losing out on job opportunities. So what's happening now with trade? There's a few things that have been proposed by the Trump administration. We're not sure if that's going to go through, but as far as right now, what he is proposing is a universal minimum tariff of 10 to 20% on all U.S. imports. There would also be a 60% import on Chinese goods, which we get a lot of our parts and other things from China, so we would possibly see an increase in price due to that. There would also be an import tariff on companies that decide to move manufacturing out of the United States. So that would be companies that maybe see factories in Mexico being a lower cost option for them, and then being punished for higher tariffs on their products. There would also be a tariff on products from Mexico if they fail to slow the rate of immigration into the United States. So with that being said, as far as free trade within Texas, I don't think that Texas should have an overall free trade within it. We export so many products and gain so much revenue. I believe the $389 billion, it was either billion or $1 million, that we export that helps fund things like WIC and assistance programs and food stamps, that if we were to get rid of that entirely, our economy would tank, I believe. However, I do think that like maybe a smaller overall tariff wouldn't be bad. We would still get that revenue without having it fall down on the consumers and small businesses having to bear the brunt of those increased prices. So yeah, lower tariffs would be optimal as they would fuel the state budgets without crippling the common Texan.